All gas, no brake.
And now we have liftoff. Welcome into the Now We Have Liftoff New York Jets podcast. I'm your host, John June, and of course, got my guy, Frank Jim Piccolo. Frank, what's good, man?
What's going on, John? Good to be back. I missed you last week. What'd I miss?
Nothing. Just the Jets rolling back the clock on us, making it seem like it was 2020, and Adam Gase was the head coach, and we're getting the doors blown off of us by a team that will probably finish with somewhere in the ballpark of 8 to 10 wins, maybe. But yeah, other than that, everything was great, man. But in all seriousness, we're obviously recapping today the game that was a game. I guess you have to call it that because two teams were on the field and there was football being played. One team played it much better than the other team. I'm being very facetious, as you can see. You can kind of see what kind of tone we're setting here for this. We got a lot of stuff I want to get off my chest today. Yeah, man, blood was boiling for like 3 days, but we're back, man. We're good, chilling. It's not things aren't all bad, right? There's some good that comes out of this game, some good to break down. But the New York Jets end up losing 26-0 to the Denver Broncos. And Frank, you weren't here last week, like you mentioned. Of course, we missed having you here, man. But I said on the show I was taking Denver to cover the spread. I was like, at the time, I was like, the Jets just got trounced by New England. But when you look at that game in totality, that it was much closer than the score indicated, and obviously the Zach Wilson interceptions. And so I talked myself from Tuesday to Saturday morning, because I do obviously the Fantasy Football Diagnostics podcast, and we pick all the games. So by the time I got to Saturday, I had switched my pick to the Jets covering the spread because I had felt confident that they would play better than they did. But that obviously did not happen here as they end up losing 26-0. It was just not a lot of good to come from this game, man. I mean, Zach Wilson, that was obviously the storyline, had another 2-interception game, but a lot of this wasn't really on him. He was not getting much help from the players around him, whether it was the offensive line, which was just bad again. I mean, talking Connor McGovern, Greg vanroten, like, those two players have been a weak spot on this offensive line for 3 weeks now. They can't even defend a stunt, like two defensive linemen looping. Like, how can you not defend that? Like, is it something that when players come to the New York Jets on the offensive line over the last 5 years that they can't stop a stunt? Like, what is it about a stunt that the Jets can't stop? Like, it's something that I cannot comprehend right now. But then you add the fact that you've got, $10 million or $11 million receiver out there and Correydavis not catching the ball, leading to interceptions again. Like, we made the excuse for Sam Darnold like so many times, and I don't want to bring up Sam, but like, we made the excuse so many times. He doesn't have help. He doesn't have help. He doesn't have help. Like, I'm just found myself saying today, is this going to be another situation where we're saying this about Zach Wilson, where this kid doesn't have help? He doesn't have help. It's like exhausting at this point.
But he does have help. The help that he has is not producing. Correydavis was a good receiver last year. Connor McGovern was a good offensive lineman for the Denver Broncos. vanroten has had some success in this league with Carolina. At what point do we start holding Joe Douglas accountable? Because if you look at his free agents that he's brought in, not very good. And if you look at his first draft, you only had one player that played in that Denver Bronco game, and that is Bryce Hall. I'm not saying, let's kill Joe Douglas, because at the same token, like, I've been going back and forth with this, because at the same token, he was picking players for an Adam Gase-led team, right? But he can't be absolved from any blame in this right now when this is his offensive line. George Fant hasn't been good. The only player that has been productive on the offensive line is George Fant.
Yeah, I mean, you could throw Elijah Veratucker in there. He's
He
great.
did not have a good game.
He didn't have a great game in week 3, but week 1 and week 2, he was steady.
His
for the
pass
most part.
production is atrocious, bro.
I mean, again, he's
he's a rookie. I get it. I'm just shooting it straight.
It's his first playing time in the NFL. Did missed pretty much all of training camp, missed all of the preseason. So again, I'm grading him on a curve.
Oh, absolutely. Just like Zach and just like Michael Carter and Elijah Moore. But guys like vanroten and Connor McGovern, that curve is gone for you.
Yeah. Morgan Moses, he's been up and down for the mostly down. And that's a signing that we were both very high on. And it's like, how is this not coming together? Like, is Greg Van Roten that bad? Like, is Connor McGovern that bad that it reverberates across this offensive line that much? Like, and Connor McGovern really irks me, man, because this is a guy that talked about like, oh, I'm built for this scheme. Like, oh, I'm not one of those guys to talk, but this scheme fits me really well, and I look forward to really playing in it. And you come out and you lay an egg basically three weeks in a row, right? And it is what it is. But at the end of the day, the guy that I think has the most growing to do, as much as we talk about a rookie quarterback, we also have a rookie play caller as well in Matt LaFleur. And there's been some back and forth about whether he needs to be on the sideline or whether he's got to be in the booth. And like at this point, I don't care if he calls the game from the parking lot. Like whatever he has to do to make this offense score more than 16 points, or basically more than 2 touchdowns in 3 weeks. Whatever he has to do to make that happen, where you go 2 consecutive weeks without scoring an offensive touchdown, right? Like, whatever you have to do, if that means putting denzelmims, oh my God, the 2nd-round pick wide receiver, activating him for a game, like, would that be the worst thing to do?
There has to be something else going on with denzelmims. He must not be taken to. I know, but you're not gonna see him, and it frustrates me just as much as it frustrates you, because you cannot tell me with the struggles that the Jets been having on offense that denzelmims couldn't help this team. And quite frankly, you talked about it, and I've been saying this. Maybe LaFleur needs to go up into the booth. Maybe he needs to take a step back, and now you have Kavanaugh. That's that one ear for Wilson, and maybe that'll be better for Wilson. Maybe there's too many people trying to get to Wilson right now, and he's trying to force things. Maybe you'll have that steady hand, and LaFleur could just focus on play calling. You're going to come up with the game plan, and you're just going to play call and leave the rest to Kavanaugh and Benton, and we'll go from there. But also, we played 3 really, really tough defenses.
No, and that part I understand, but again, right, like it's the process for me. It's trotting out Tyler Kroft and Ryan Griffin and Daniel Brown and trying to be a 2 tight end offense when your strength is not at the 2 tight ends. Like you cut Ryan Griffin in August, so you didn't think he was good enough to make your initial 53, and you're out here and he's getting the same amount of targets as guys like Elijah Moore. He's getting more playing time than Denzelmims. Right? Like, I don't get it. Like LaFleur, you need to find things that work. Stop getting like Elijah Moore, one of the great yard after catch receivers in the draft. How many yard after catch opportunities has Elijah Moore had in 3 weeks? Could probably count like 3. So again, we've got to see more creativity from this offense. We have to see more creativity in the way that they use personnel. Like Ty Johnson's not the guy that you want out there throwing the ball to repeatedly as a receiver. Like, he's been terrible on passing downs, whether it's in pass pro or as a receiver. Like, just give that job to Michael Carter, right? And even Michael Carter had some bad drops, right? Like, these are situations where like you have to find a way, like call a trick play, like a reverse, a flea flicker, something that just shows me you're trying right? You're trying to do something to produce some points, right? Like run Zach Wilson some more, run some read option, run some speed option. I don't care what it is. Like, why are we sitting here 3 years in a row watching a boring ass offense? Like, this doesn't make sense.
But you can't compare the last 2 seasons to this year. Like for the first time.
I'm sorry. After Sunday, I can because
you can't though, because this is a total rebuild. We haven't seen this since Eric Mangini's. Bro, I'm telling you. Like you just said, it's about the process, right? And we both live our lives like that. Like it's about the process. These guys we are the youngest team in the NFL, and I get it. But LaFleur is also, he's got to be the youngest OC in the league. So he's still trying to find his way.
Look, man,
you know what I'm saying?
Joe Brady's the youngest offensive coordinator in the league, and look what he's doing over in Carolina, right? Like but
look who he has, bro. I know, but what weapons he got, bro?
But at the end of the day, Frank, like yesterday when I say it reminds me of the Adam Gase era, and I tweeted this out. That game looked like the game where instead of you're saying to yourself, oh, we could easily get blown out by 60, but we'd rather not. We'd rather only lose by 30. And that was the typical Adam Gase game where you go into a stadium, you're double-digit underdogs, and you just play this safe, conservative game plan on offense so you don't get yourself blown out. And that's the stuff I don't like. I don't care if they lose the game. I told you that. I don't care. Like I knew that I was not expecting the Jets to be good before week 6 when they hit their bye week. I'm not expecting them to be good at all. And I expected that. But what I don't want is scared coaching. And that's what the Jets did on Sunday. That's what Adam Gase had done over the last 2 years, and that's what Mike LaFleur, that's how he called his offense on Sunday. And that's the part that I have issue with. I don't have an issue with the score. I don't have an issue with the fact that Zach Wilson's throwing interceptions, or he leads the league in interceptions right now with 7. I don't care. What I care about is how are you calling the game? Are you putting your players in position to make plays? Are you trying to attack the ball down the field? Like, it was a conservative game plan where it was one where it was the typical after Mark Sanchez throws 5 interceptions against Buffalo game plan again by Rex Ryan, where we're going to hide our quarterback. We're not going to try to attack down the field, and we're just going to try to pound the ball, and three downs, and we have to punt. We punt.
Well,
that's not the stuff I want to see.
No, of course not, and me either. You just hit the nail on the head there. You had that horrible game that Zach Wilson had against New England, and they tried to reel back the playbook a little bit. Easy throws. They tried easy throws, tried to run the ball down the throat, but that's not the defense to do that against. Maybe you could get away with another team doing that, but not the Denver Broncos. That's an elite defense. They'll probably finish in the top 5 in total defense this year. And this was without Chubb. This was just with Von Miller, and they wreaked havoc. But the bigger problem is how bad this offensive line is. Like, I broke down a couple plays. Our buddy DJ Bieniemy from the New York Daily News tweeted out a conversation that Connor McGovern had with, I'm guessing, a fan about a particular pass pro where Connor McGovern was supposed to block, or his assignment was the right A gap, and the fan kind of went off because you had a free runner. So I went back and I watched the film on that, and that's the rookie Elijah Veratucker not getting the front side A gap when Connor McGovern has the front side or the backside A gap. But also, if no one's coming into the backside A gap, you should be looking to your left to see if there's a free runner coming. Or not only that, even if Elijah Veratucker was engaged with somebody, you could clean his clock. Like, that guy's not going to expect you to come there. Like, that's the things that I want to see from the offensive line. And I know what you want to see. You want to see those downfield throws, and you come from this fantasy football world where that's where you live by, and the Jets should be getting into that. We thought that's what we were getting with a LaFleur type of offense. But what I'm looking at those little things by the offensive line that's going to make those possible. And I'm not seeing that by Connor McGovern. I'm not seeing that by Van Roten. I'm not seeing that by Morgan Moses. And like you hear like on the Jets Twitterverse that the Jets should bench Van Roten. Who are they putting in? You're going to put Feeney in? Is Feeney going to do a better job than Van Roten? No. We don't have anybody. There's literally no one else that we could put in. Like you mentioned, maybe a Doga. Like when we were talking yesterday off air, maybe a Doga. But is a Doga an upgrade over Van Roten? I don't think so.
Look, yeah, no, man. I totally understand. I'm before fantasy football. I'm a football guy first. I understand that none of this is possible without the offensive line, but there's ways to even work around that, right? Like you run more screens, right? Like Andy Reid runs more screens than anybody, right? Like constantly. Like do that. Utilize Michael Carter as a screen running back. Get Elijah Moore out in space. Do some of those things to negate the pass rush. Like you, as a play caller, can help out your offensive line by trying to do some things to slow down that pass rush. Run some RPOs with Zach Wilson. Have them run some read options. Like there are things that you can do as a play caller to put those guys in positions to try to help them out. But one part of this team that is constantly not being put in position, not because of play calling, not because of lack of talent, is this defense. They have been overachieving essentially through 3 weeks. They are always on the field, whether it's because the offense is punting or turning the ball over, but yet they somehow are able to, being undermanned, whether it's in the secondary or in the pass rush or a linebacker, they somehow go out there and they put up a productive effort every week. Every single week, these guys are flying around. You see effort, you see passion, you see the youth that we know this team has exuberated on defense. Guys flying around, hitting. Like it's phenomenal to see that. CJ Mosley looks like the old CJ Mosley. Had a phenomenal hit on the goal line. Had another 10 tackle game after having one last week. I mean, this guy looks like CJ Mosley from Baltimore again.
Yeah, and I thought you were going to see that from CJ. And I wasn't worried about the defense, even when Carl Lawson got hurt, because Salah had to go through that last year when Bosa got hurt and all the litany of injuries that they had on their defense last year. You know, the defensive backs are playing well. What's really getting overshadowed is how good Heinz Nazardine has been playing. Like, you don't hear he's in the right coverages. He doesn't make many missed tackles. He's really been having a solid, so far, rookie season so far, at least in my opinion.
Well, the thing with Hamza, the reason why you haven't really heard his name all that much is because he has not been playing. He played 49% of the snaps in week 1, 31% of the snaps in week 2, and then in week 3 played 0% of the snaps on defense. So something may have happened with Hamza. They may have not, maybe something was, I don't know, but he has not been getting a lot of playing time. But Michael Carter, though, on defense, Michael Carter the second, he was somebody that you had high praise for, calling him the third best player on this defense right now. I thought that he was somebody I highlighted last week when I had done it solo, but he's a guy that constantly shows up, like whether it's in coverage, whether it's as a run defender, or like some teams will try to run a quick screen and he's always making a tackle in behind line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage or at the catch point. He had a really good play in coverage on Sunday. I forget who the receiver was. I want to say it was Tim Patrick, but either way, had a really good play in coverage and he's been playing well. So this secondary, Bryce Hall, he's been playing well. Like you said, do the fantasy football stuff. And one of the things I had looked, one of the stats I look at is fantasy points per snap in coverage. And prior to this game, Bryce Hall was one of the best cornerbacks in that metric, which I thought was interesting. He doesn't have a ton of targets against him. I think his target rate per snap was one of the lowest in the league, but that's also one of the measures for good coverage, is that teams don't want to throw your way. So Bryce Hall is playing some pretty good football. At least that's what the data told me, and that's what some of the film analysts have said as well. And just even seeing him on Sundays, I mean, I thought that this would have been a good test to see him going up against, a Denver Broncos team that has some good receivers. And he got beat a couple times, but he held his own for most of it. And I'm excited to see what he does, this week, as we've got, potentially, I mean, AJ Brown's injured, so we'll see what's up with him. But we've got, Julio Jones coming to town, and we know what kind of receiver he is. And then we've got Calvin Ridley down the stretch, and we've got a bunch of other good receivers down the stretch on this schedule. So we'll see how it goes. But Bryce Hall has played really well thus far.
Yeah, and we both expected him to be the number one corner for this team, even before the cut.
Who was it going to be?
Yeah, no, I know. It wasn't going to be Bless before we cut Bless. But he had the makings. That injury is why he fell to us as late as he did. He probably would. He's a second-round talent, so he should be playing well. And you talked about, the target rate. I should have asked you earlier, but he's got to be right up there with Jalen Ramsey's target rate, because not a lot of teams are throwing to the Jets cornerbacks, especially Hall.
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but he was one of the lower targeted, one of the lowest targeted cornerbacks in the league at the time. So this was entering week 3. So it's only 2 weeks of data. So as we get more data, we learn more things. But I thought that was an interesting nugget when I was going through my fantasy research.
Yeah, and I always wish I was on last week, because we both attended that game, and the thing that I saw, which was a little concerning to me, and I know he had a sack and a half this week, but it was kind of in garbage time. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about Quinnen in this defense, because his defense was supposed to wreak havoc, or I forget how Olbrich said it, like let him loose like a caged animal, and you just don't see it. Like last year, you saw like on every play, he'd be pushing the pocket, pushing the run, tackles for loss, and this year you just don't see it. I don't know. Maybe that foot is hindering him a little bit. Maybe he's still trying to recover from that. But what's your opinion on that, bro?
Yeah, that was one of the things I've been harping on since even week 1, right? Like I said after week 1, I was like, yo, where was Quinnen? Like you never heard his name. You didn't see him. And then week 2 against the Patriots, it was the same thing, right? Like we've heard Quincy Williams' name more than we've heard Quinnen Williams' name. And that to me, that's like eye-opening, because Quinnen is a guy that I expected a lot from this year, right? And it could be a problem with the foot. I like to look for trends, especially again coming from the fantasy football world. I try to look for trends, and so one of the things I was looking at was, okay, if it's a conditioning thing or something with the foot, let's see how his playing time fluctuates from week to week. Week 1, he played 61% of the snaps. Week 2 was 66% of the snaps. So that to me, it was like, okay, it's going up. Maybe it is a conditioning thing. So, but week 3, he's back down to 52%. So the lowest percentage of snaps he's played all year. Again, the sack and a half. The first one wasn't quite it was some not competitive game script, but the game wasn't quite over yet. The half a sack, yeah, it was a little garbage timey, but I mean, that's what I want to see from Quinnen. Sacks come in bunches. A lot of big time defensive players say, and so 1.5 that puts him. I mean, even through if he gets half a sack a game, right? Because that's what he's on pace for right now. It's still an 8-sack season. That's more than what he had last year in one, or I guess in 13 games. But I think Quinnen could be trending up because. One of the things to note is he had no off season, right? He didn't really play in the preseason. So this is his September. Like he's entering, like October is truly like Quinnen September. Cause again, didn't have an off season with the foot. So, and then the other thing to me is like, he looks kind of, I don't want to call an NFL player out of shape or anything, right? Cause like, I'm not, in stunning shape here myself, but like, he looked leaner last year than he does this year. So I wonder if that has something to do with it too, because he just doesn't look like the same Quinnen with that explosiveness, that twitch that we saw him with when he was coming out of Alabama.
Yeah, he doesn't look twitchy at all. Like when you watch him, and I watched him on a few series, particularly, he's just bull rushing guys. There's no secondary moves that are going on. There's no club and rip. There's no swim. There's no shed, and that's kind of disheartening to see, because Quinnen's game is not going to be bull rush. Like, he's a strong guy, but he's not one of these. He's not like Burns from Carolina, where he's just going to overpower you with strength. He needs to use those secondary moves.
I think you mean Derek Brown.
Derek Brown, sorry.
Okay. Because I was like, Burns is the Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's a DN / outside linebacker. Yeah, know what
I know what you mean. I know what you mean totally. Quinnen, look, again, he kind of did the same thing last year, right? Where people were like, "Where's Quinnen?" Right? Like, and then he shows up in that week 2 game. I think he had 3 sacks that game against San Francisco. So, we'll see what happens with Quinnen as the week progresses, or as the season progresses, and hopefully he can get better. Marcus May continuing to ball out as well. So that's been good. But Frank, we got to get into this week 4 matchup rather. We spent a lot of time recapping this game. We had a lot of venting to do. But the New York Jets are home this week against the Tennessee Titans. And according to this segment, is brought to you by DraftKings. Week 3 of fantasy football, week 3 of football rather, is in the books. And now it's time to review the tape and get ready for week 4 with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. To kick off another action-packed week, DraftKings is giving new customers $150 instantly when they bet $1 on any football game. I'm trying to make sure there's no typo there. That sounds like a really good deal. $150 for your $1 to a new customer instantly when you bet on any football game. I mean, look, we're about to get into these games. You might as well take some of these bets right now, but listen up, because you don't want to miss this. Head to DraftKings Sportsbook app now and place a bet of $1 on any one game to receive $150 in free bets instantly. If Sportsbook is not available in your state, DraftKings still has huge cash prizes up for grabs all season long with their daily fantasy contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sports app now and use promo code TPPN to receive $150 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any football game. That's promo code TPPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager is required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. And now, let's get into the matchup, man. DraftKings line here. The New York Jets are 8-point underdogs with a 41.5 point total. Just make sure. 45.5 point total. Frank, what are your thoughts here, man?
Titans and the under. We've been saying it since the preseason that the beginning part of this schedule is going to be rough. You got Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Julio Jones. That defense hasn't been playing lights out, but they're capable with being led by Mike Vrabel rather. I just think it's going to be tough sledding. The Jets will be home. That stadium can turn on that team really, really quick. And if that happens, it's going to be like another away game. It's unfortunate that you have a portion of our fan base that had ideas of grandeur coming into the season and thought we were going to be able to compete for a playoff berth this year, and not see it for what it really was, and that this was a total rebuild. I was trying to say it earlier. The Jets haven't done this since Mangini got hired, where they totally just ripped everything down to the foundation and started from new. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to change the culture. They're trying to bring in playmakers. They're trying to bring in defensive leaders, offensive leaders, leaders in the coaching staff. They changed everything. They changed their trainers. So it's going to take some time. And we've been saying it. It's probably not going to start to see any sort of building until after the bye week.
Yeah, I've been on that thought process since I saw the schedule, right? This opening schedule was tough. To see the Jets as anything more than 2-4, or I think 3-3 was like best case scenario, right? Like, so 2-4 or 1-5, to see them as anything more than that was really just a pipe dream, right? And so the bye week, that this is like the youngest team in the league. I'm hoping. I've had a lot of faith in this coaching staff. I've had a lot of faith in the way that Salah talks about the use of analytics and use of other tools as well. And so I'm hoping, as any good NFL team would do during a bye week, that there's a lot of serious self-scouting that goes on. And I hope that a lot of it has to do with some data, because it would be really good to see if the Jets can find out what they're good at and how they can find success on both sides of the ball. Defensively, they've been good. Obviously, we know that. But there's always room to get better. Like, I think the Jets have forced one turnover. It was the muffed handoff in Carolina. So it would be good to see them be able to actually, no, they forced 2 turnovers because they got one in Denver, which they weren't able to do anything with because the offense has sucked. But 2 turnovers, I'd like to see them do more. I'd like to see them, get some interceptions. They haven't been able to force an interception or anything like that. Or, hopefully they're able to do that. But this is not the bye week. This is week 4. We're talking about the game against Tennessee. And so with that being said, I'm with you. I really want to take the over here, man, because Tennessee could probably score 45 points by themselves at this point.
I don't know on that defense, though, man. That defense is playing solid for the Jets.
They've been playing solid.
And they don't have AJ. AJ Brown's banged up. So, and Julio Jones hasn't done much so far this season. And they're going to try to ground the Jets into submission. And Derrick Henry is not that running back like Alvin Kamara, where he's going to break an 80-yarder. Like, he can.
Will break an 80-yarder. Don't say that. Derrick Henry will break an 80-yarder.
No, but it's going to look a lot different. Like, it's going to look like
the fact that it looks different has no bearing on the fact that he will still do it.
Yeah.
Actually, the way he does it is definitely more demoralizing than the way Alvin Kamara would do it. Because Alvin Kamara would do it as a defender, you'd be like, "Oh, damn, he looks pretty good doing that. Wow, that was a nice move." Derrick Henry, you are the end of a vicious stiff arm, and then you are sitting there chasing this man, and you're like, "Why can't I chase this man who is 30 pounds heavier than me?" So yeah, it'll definitely be demoralizing. I agree with you. The defense is good, but they have not played against an offense like this, quite like this one, where Tennessee can pound you physically, but they can also get over the top on you vertically with Julio Jones. AJ Brown's banged up. He might not play. But I think Derrick Henry and Julio are going to be enough. I don't think that Denver scored 26 points. Mac Jones scored 25 points. Sam Darnold scored 19. Like, I think Ryan Tannehill and company, I don't think 30 is out of the question for this crew.
No. You said 45, so
I'm just saying. I think that 45. I mean, Zach Wilson could throw a pick six or something.
Well, I think that's what it's going to come down to is Zach stop trying to play hero ball, because that's what he's doing right now.
I mean, how can you ask any quarterback to not play hero ball when they're down by 17, 20? Like, right, it's going to become hard. Any quarterback is going to want to become more aggressive. It's got to be in your nature. I'd actually prefer that he is aggressive in these situations as opposed to the opposite.
But I want to see him aggressive in the beginning of the games. Like, I don't want to see him.
That's on the play calling.
Oh, obviously, and I was just going to get into that. I want to see play calls where, like, I haven't seen a deep shot to Elijahmoore, like a true deep shot where they're going trips to one side, Elijahmoore on the other, and just play backyard football. I don't care. Trust that Elijahmoore is better than the cornerback that's playing him. And Zach Wilson's got a cannon. Just put it up there. That's what it is at this point. And then that's going to open up the running lanes, which is going to make it easier for the offensive line to do what they want to do. But I know what the problem is, because Zach Wilson's going to have to do a 5 to 7 step drop for him to take that deep shot. And does Mike LaFleur, does Robert Salah, does Benton trust the offensive line to hold up for 5 seconds?
You know what the part that irks me? Like, play action, right? Like, we see this all the time. People think you need to run the ball you need to be able to run the ball to be able to for play action to work. And that's not true. Like, there have been studies done on this. Play action, the threat of play action is there. Just that action alone, defenders have to respect it. It opens up windows. It opens up passing lanes. So, like, I would like to see a lot more play action before the runs are even there, right? Like, start out play action on the first play of the game, right? Like, whatever you have to do to get these receivers down the field, opportunities to run in space. There's another problem that's on this offense, and it's something I've noticed, like a lot of miscommunication. There was a play the other day, I forgot who tweeted it out, but you had 3 receivers. I think it was Justin Fried of Jets Press.
I saw where they were bunched right in the middle of the field
in the same place.
It was atrocious. Like,
you don't even see that on high school field.
I was just gonna say that, bro. We officiate high school football, and I don't think we've seen that all year, where you have 3 receivers on one particular area on the field. And you have a pro football team that's doing this with Correydavis. Maybe the Jets are missing Jamison Crowder.
Look, I'm tired of trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with the Jets. Like, I'm really tired of trying. Like, maybe Michael LaFleur needs to go on the roof. Maybe denzelmims needs more playing time. Maybe they miss Jamison Crowder. Maybe Zach Wilson is having too many players, too many people in his head. Maybe the offensive line sucks. Maybe we need to try Chumadoga. I'm tired of it. Whatever it needs. Like, we don't get paid enough to figure out what is wrong with them. The people in the building get paid to do that. Why can't they do it?
Because we're Jet fans, bro. This is what we do. Too much losing, not enough winning. And I really think it boils down to culture. I really think it boils down to that the Jets, I think certain people in the Jets locker room just don't care. And that's how I feel. And it's tough for me to say that as a former player and a former coach. But when you look at certain guys and how they play, it's almost impossible to fathom that you have a player for 2 straight years that has a bottom 5 record, according to PFF, for a center grade and a guard grade. To me, it's unfathomable. There's no good grades there. Like, a full season last year, 3 games this year, and PFF week after week after week grades you bottom 5. How is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, we never really know, right? Like, we're not there, and PFF's not really gospel. They don't really know. They do their best to understand blocking schemes, but I understand your point, right? Like Connor McGovern hasn't been great. Whatever it is. I mean, we last year we blamed the coaching. We could blame coaching until we're blue in the face. But this year, it's either got to be the coach. We didn't get a coach upgrade, or the player is just not good enough. And which one of those two is it? Right. And that part,
I'm at the point where I'm not going to blame two coaching staffs, right? Like, yes, Gase was terrible, and we're on that, but Benton has a great reputation in this league. Like, he's a great offensive line coach, or he has been in previous stops that he's been at. So is it just everybody else? And how about we just take some ownership that I have to do better? And how is it every week there seems like there's a free runner coming in the A gap? How is that possible? As a former center, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. You have to protect the A gap. I really don't care that that's not your man or your gap. At some point, you have to take some pride in. At this point, I don't even care if the New York Jets offensive line are getting called for holdings every other play. Stop letting this kid get hit every other play with free runners. You heard vanroten say that Zach Wilson needs to learn to get rid of the ball. And I agree with that. And the rest of his quote, vanroten seems like he's a very we-oriented football player. Salah was on the Michael K show and said he's probably the best locker room guy that they have on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to accountability. And I think that quote got blown out of proportion. But I think this whole team needs to realize is that Zach Wilson is a young rookie, and that his offensive line last year at BYU probably didn't see a lot of exotic play calls. So Zach Wilson probably didn't see a lot of stunts and twists and exotic blitzes like he saw from Matt Rule, Bill Belichick, and Vic Fangio, which are probably three of the better defensive minds in this league. I don't know, man. I'm just so frustrated with seeing him take free shots. Like, it's one thing when you get beat. Like, if Aaron Donald's across from Connor McGovern and he just beats him off the line, I can live with that. But when I see two guys on a specific play blocking air and Zach Wilson's taking a free hit, there's a problem. There is a problem.
Whatever. Maybe Matt LaFleur just needs to just go back to like not game planning, right? Like, because whatever he did in the preseason would look fine to me, right? Like,
well, then who's gonna game plan? Who's game planning?
I don't know, man.
You got a game plan. It's football, bro. But who else are you taking? But we knew that. But we knew that
better in the preseason.
Yeah, because the defenses aren't game planning, right? They're trying to work things out. It's all vanilla defenses, right? And I love Salah, but if I hear one more time that the Jets look great in practice, I'm going to lose. That
is the all-time
coach
Jets head coach. No, specifically New York Jets. Rex Ryan said, "Oh, hey, we had a great week of practice." Todd Bowles, well, we had a great week of practice. Adam Gase, well, yeah, you had a great week of practice. Like, it's like once you put on this right here, you feel the need to say, "We had a great week of practice." Denzelmims, he's been running with the ones. Like, you had a great week of practice.
And then he doesn't even get active. He doesn't even get activated. P. Ryan, healthy, doesn't get activated. I know you didn't. But obviously, the one thing about P. Ryan, he could block in pass protection. He might not be able to break. He might not be able to make something out of nothing. So if it's not blocked for him, he can't do it. But at least you have a solid protector back there that's not going to blow coverage like I saw Ty Johnson do time after time in New England and in Denver. Like, it's it's so maddening to me. Like when Michael Carter goes in there, that's what I expect. Like I expect there to be times where he's going to miss a blitz pickup. But like we said, there are certain guys on this roster that have a learning curve. Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter the second, Pinnock. We could go through the 9 guys that are starting as rookies for this team. But Ty Johnson,
not starting.
I know, but yeah, I know. Thank you. But Ty Johnson, Tevin Coleman, who's hurt, like these guys have no excuse. And the offensive line, like I know I keep repeating myself about the offensive line, but I really feel that this is where this all stems from. Like if Connor McGovern was putting Elijah Veratucker in a position where he could succeed, like Nick Mangold did this as a rookie. Like it's not unheard of for centers to come in and be okay or put people in the right position. Like the Jets had a good offensive line with 2 rookies on their offensive line in 06.
Yeah, man, it's been discouraging to see for sure. But let's get into our locks, man. Let's get into our lock of the week. You didn't submit any locks last week, so you're on mute.
Yeah, I got caught up at work last minute, so
You're good, brother. You're good.
no, I know. So I know I meant to send you my lock, but I probably would have got it wrong, so it doesn't even matter.
Are you willing to take the?
I'm not taking the L. You know, I'm not taking the L.
Oh well, because I won. So all right, how about this? You pick 2 games this week then.
That's fair, right? That's fair.
That is fair. We just gotta make it. We gotta make it even. I don't want you to say, "Oh, John, you only beat me because you had an extra week to pick." Like, you know. But I'm undefeated on my picks. I just want to throw that out there.
We could always do win percentage.
Well, with 100%, I'm chilling.
Right now, that could change very soon, my man. And I feel I feel it coming. I feel it coming. I got the tingling in my body that John's gonna start going for an over soon.
Oh yeah, really? Okay. Well, my lock.
I think I go first. I think I go first.
How is this possible?
Because you went first in New England week, so it's my pick.
So, but this is technically the New England week. You missed your week last week, so
no. I got
evens, you got odds. So,
oh, is that we're just gonna bounce me? We're just bouncing me. That's okay. That's okay.
I mean, winner's court, you know, like winner's ball.
I bet. Go ahead.
I'm gonna take Cincinnati here to beat Jacksonville.
Are we just we're just going with the slam dunks, right? Boom. Slam dunks.
I mean, it's a lock.
Okay.
And I don't know how it's a slam dunk. There's 2 number 1 picks. You know, Cincinnati's defense is relatively okay. I didn't pick against Houston again, which is my move. So,
well, speaking of Houston, I'm gonna go with Buffalo beating Houston. That is my lock of the week. And for my second game, I'm a betting man. Speaking of betting, go to DraftKings, use our code TPPN. But I'm going to pick the Broncos over the Patriots.
The
Buccaneers. The Buccaneers.
Okay. I was gonna say.
I know. I caught it. I caught it. I know you're gonna put me to task, but
oh man,
I beat you too.
All right, we'll see what happens, man. So we'll see definitely. But everyone, we appreciate y'all for listening. Love the support. If you could please subscribe to the podcast, however you may be listening, subscribe to the YouTube channel, however you may be watching, obviously on YouTube. But we appreciate you. We love you. We'll catch y'all next week. Hopefully the Jets will be 1-3, but they'll probably be 0-4. But we can look, catch me on Sunday. Like, there's not a more optimistic person celebrating the green and white than me. But during these times, I got to keep it real with y'all. So until next time,
We're in it together. We're in it together.
Make sure you follow the show at liftoff_NYJ on Twitter, at Now We Have Liftoff on Instagram. Catch Frank at FrankieG53 on Instagram. Find him at FrankieBoss with a Z on Twitter. You can find me at JR Football Nerd on all social media platforms. We love you. We appreciate y'all. And we're out of here. Peace.
Love you.